what he did. There we go. We're live.
Yes, sir.
We
I
have to
told you. It's
re-
one of those kind of days. I don't know.
I don't even know how that happens.
It's,
Was his audio all choppy for you too?
yeah.
Yeah, I was like, there's no way that if he was going to be the one teaching that people were going to be able to listen to that.
That's just so hilarious. It's just
I need to message him to say we started a new one. There he is.
All right. Don't hit the orange end broadcast button. I went over there to click X, and it's right below the X.
It's the end broadcast? Sure.
It's like the red button. You're like, hey, whatever you do, don't push this button. This
Josh,
one right here?
Josh,
I need to write.
I think he ended it.
Yeah.
I need to write StreamYard and say, don't put that under your X button to get out of your browser.
See, my Leave Studio is down at the bottom.
Oh,
I don't have an X right next to the end broadcast. Yeah, I can see that. Oh, here we go.
Well, that's the same thing that happens when you in notes, like on your iPhone. If you're going to copy, if you select a word and you go over and try to expand that, the cut button is right above the and it's terribly placed.
Now, all you Facebook users need to go onto the group page. You need to go to my post that talks about StreamYard and give StreamYard permission to show your name so that we know who you are.
Yeah.
We have a lot of Facebook users on today.
One of those days, baby.
All right. Hopefully, you guys don't have to suffer too much with this mic. I don't know what's wrong with the mic. It's a new computer, and I don't have something set up right. Does it sound okay now?
It was okay when you first started talking, but it's almost like it seems like there's a delay or something because it's like you're talking through like a voice modulator or something.
Oh, I have to change my voice, so
you sound like you're our robot overlords. Now don't end the broadcast again.
I'm not. I'm gonna try and do something with the microphone. So
does your laptop have an open mic?
Yeah,
you might do that.
Yeah. Since there's nobody else there.
It's absolute mayhem out here today, ladies and gentlemen.
Listen, if you guys give us, we've only just started with StreamYard. It's not like we've been doing it for 6 months or something.
Right. Yeah, this is our first broadcast.
Y'all give us a break.
Oh.
Hey, as long as the technical difficulties aren't lasting throughout the whole. Now, on this prayer on the square thing, are they going to give you a mic, or are you going to be shouting through a megaphone, or what? You used to be praying.
I don't know.
Get that amphitheater voice going.
I could. That's right. Yeah.
What's the largest amount of people you've ever had to preach or pray to without any kind of voice amplification? Yeah, like I figure on a mission trip or something, you surely had
about 1,200.
Are you serious?
Yeah, I was on a 3rd-story balcony.
Like the Pope?
Very papal. Yeah. Yeah. You know, no offense intended to any people, any folks with Catholic, but
yeah,
very papal. Yeah.
Now, so you could, if you've done that, you can do that. That's easy. 1,200 people with no microphone.
Yeah.
Did you feel like going, my people, my people?
It was pretty cool. It was, and the audience was phenomenal. Considering they were all standing in the heat.
Where is this at?
This was in Jamaica.
Nice.
Yeah, it was quite toasty. It was a morning, but it was for those that were standing and listening, that was the greater challenge. I have no doubt. So
that's crazy.
So yeah. Oh, I don't know if I mentioned, but Tuesday night we start at 6.
Yes.
Wednesday night we start at 6. We wanted continuity in that, so online teaching 6 o'clock, and of course it does record. If 6 o'clock's a little bit early, then you can always catch it on, online for sure. So, Tom, I actually have a photograph that I actually found the other day. I may have to bring out of that was, maybe slightly edited and may have me in some papal attire. So
hopefully CJ's sleeping at this point.
Oh man.
No, we can't hear you, Jeff.
So
Jeff's just gonna have to sign. Oh, Jeff, it says you muted yourself.
Yeah, it could be you just unmute.
Oh, again.
No, I muted myself while I was working on it. So is it still scratchy?
Well, you have to talk a little bit more. So, and for those who like to support the Blessings Box, the cupboard is bare once again. A lot of folks coming by. That is used daily.
Yeah, it's pretty much, if you think about it, it needs it because it's and it gets people come in and they put food in on a weekly basis, and yeah, it's the word's out. They're coming to get it.
Yeah, for sure. So
there's our featured speaker for 10 a.m.
That's right.
You guys keep vamping. I'm gonna try and fix this.
Okay.
And
you need you need an IT guy. He just retired now. He doesn't have the.
That's right.
I don't have support.
You need Apple products, man. You're over there with these Microsoft and.
Yeah.
that or he buys the earbud at the impulse buy at Quick Trip or something.
Do you have any Apple earbuds like this, the wired ones? They have a built-in mic. If you have an audio port,
if they plug it in, can it just go through the phone? Since I'm dialed into the phone, can I do it that way?
Well, does it have? What end do you have on it?
No, I've got the Apple end.
Producing on the fly.
You need the adapter.
And this laptop. Hold on. I shall return. Vamp, please.
Oh my. Well, this may be one of those very unusual mornings.
Yeah, well, it's still going to be. I walked in and told Jimmy it was going to be a good day, and I ruined it.
Yes. It's like talking about a no-hitter. You don't talk about a no-hitter.
Talk about no-hitter. Talk about a guy in basketball shooting free throws. They're always like, hey, he doesn't miss a free throw, and then he goes out there and clanks out too.
I see our dear friend, Brother Micah Johnson, pastor, preacher extraordinaire, is dipping in with us. We love you. I appreciate you, and hope you guys have a great service over at the House of Bread today. And that reminds me, we need to be in prayer for Mount Olive Baptist Church. Their pastor, as long as I can remember, Slack Brown, passed away, and that's just a terrible thing. Terrible thing, I know it's appointed unto man once, but
I was kind of out of nowhere to me. I didn't even know. I don't know how he passed away.
Yeah, I knew he was ill and he was
Gotcha.
It was cancer.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
But Brother Micah says hello there, Josh and Jeff.
Hey, what's up, Brother Micah?
So he is over here on my watch party.
He's probably got like 3 sermons to do. That dude. And I don't know if the coronavirus has limited him, but he preaches all over the place. He does his music. He's got like a DJ, or I don't know what you would call it, thing going on. He's just always on the move.
Yeah.
But that's a shame.
What I have, gentlemen, is what I have. So can you hear me?
That's better.
Sounds good.
I don't know if that worked or not, but
I tell you, Micah and Eric Brown are 2 of the hardest working men in ministry that I know of. I feel puny sitting next to them.
Well, maybe since you're going to pray for revival, you can line up a couple of them.
Right. No, I don't get those calls much anymore. That's all right though.
The sawdust floor.
Sawdust Trail. Get the story right, sir.
Tom says much better, Jeff. Thank you.
Yeah, that's perfect.
Christina moved over to YouTube.
There you go.
It's better on YouTube anyway.
Yeah, the video is better. The quality and consistency is better on the YouTube side. I'm not hating on Facebook, but that may put me in jail. I don't know. We'll see. But
now it's kind of all this. And we should invent it. If somebody should invent it. They need to make a platform that is just for streaming video, because Facebook's not very good at it. YouTube's a little bit better, but they need something that's for the entire server. It'd have to have gigantic servers,
right,
to be able to hold the data, but it's just for streaming video.
Micah said he was hoping to dip in and borrow a sermon or two from you and me.
Oh man, brother, you got the wrong people.
Please, I'm going to be dipping in on him here in a little bit.
Oh yeah, where do you think we get our ideas?
Yeah. We just have a sermon echo chamber.
It's just only one pastor preps every week, and everybody else just borrows from him.
That's what Josh does. He goes in on these things and just says Facebook user when he comes on. They don't know who he is. That's what he can,
exactly.
So let me ask you this: would it be conducive if, let's say, in Greenville, on a Sunday or given Sundays, the message, the topic was the same in all the churches?
That'd be cool.
That would be a pretty incredible thing, wouldn't it?
That'd be awesome.
You had some common, what everyone to get across or message.
That'd be pretty interesting. I mean, it's like getting 5 opinions out of 4 Baptists. You can't do it, but it would be fun in theory.
Now you're probably the one that ruins that most of all on like Easter and stuff. Everybody's preaching the same thing, and you're like, "Hey, I've got my, I'm not just going to preach the same old sermon every Easter, every Christmas."
Yeah,
I'm going to give you the truth, but I want to find a new street. I want to find an avenue, a new back alley to walk through or something. Man, just I don't know. So I want to bake some new bread.
I guess on that note, we better back out and let Jeff have his time.
Yeah, I got to get these wheels back on the bus if I can. So, all right, I'll see you gents in a little bit.
Bye.
All right. Good morning, everyone. Sorry about the mix-up there. The end broadcast button is very close to closing the browser when I tried to reset. So that's my excuse for this morning. So, all right. So we're continuing our series. To remind folks, we're doing a series by Kyle Idleman called Not a Fan. You can pick this book up if you'd like and follow along. So each time I teach, I kind of grab a section out of that. Really what we're doing is we're looking at encounters that individuals or groups of people have with Christ, and then it's an opportunity for those individuals and of course us to define our relationship, to have a define a relationship moment. And what we're looking at is whether or not we're a fan or we're a follower. And fans do not equate necessarily to non-believers. As believers, we can certainly be, along for the ride, but maybe not as committed as we should be. So we're going to be in the 14th chapter of Luke this morning, starting with verse 25. And Christ is going to have another define the relationship moment. This time it's not going to be a one-on-one encounter like it was with Nicodemus in the cover of night or sitting around a dinner table. This time Jesus is speaking to an entire crowd. So at this particular time, word has been spreading about Christ. The crowds are coming, the hillsides are filling up. They're seeing miracles. They're seeing, the lame walk and the blind to see, all those things. And the scene can kind of be described like maybe this, rush of fans into a stadium. Now you'd have to go back to 2019 to get that view in mind, but maybe for a playoff game or something like that. So you've got a lot of people coming around, and for a while it seems that Christ was okay with the crowds, but we're going to see in verse 25 that he's going to address the crowds here. So Jesus was welcoming them. They were hearing about who he is, his teachings and things like that. Then let's pick up in verse 25. It says, Jesus turns to the crowd. It says, now great multitudes were going along with him, and he turned and said to them, if anyone comes to me and does not hate his own father and mother and wife and children and brothers and sisters Yes, and even his own life, he cannot be my disciple. Whoever does not carry his own cross and come after me cannot be my disciple. Or which one of you, when he wants to build a tower, does not first sit down and calculate the cost to see if he has enough to complete it? Otherwise, when he has laid a foundation and is not able to finish, all who observe it begin to ridicule him, saying, "This man began to build and was not able to finish." So here we have, Christ turning and saying, pretty much he's saying, listen, if you don't hate your mama and your daddy and your brothers and sisters and even yourself, you're not going to be able to follow me. Now, that's not very seeker friendly, as they probably said in the 90s and early 2000s. It's not very sensitive. It's not very politically correct. We would think something along the lines of maybe this. Jesus turns to the crowd and he says, hey, I want to invite everyone to go home, get a friend, bring him back to the service. We're going to have our fall festival tonight. We're going to have some live music. We're going to have some fish. We're going to have some bread. We're going to turn water into wine. We're going to have maybe even a Dunkin' booth, etc. So that's kind of what we would expect. We're going to invite people because we want to invite people to something that's friendly and inviting and opening. But Christ says, he just turns to him and he says, if anyone comes to me and does not hate his own father and mother and brother or father and mother, wife and children, brothers and sisters, yes, and even his own life, he cannot be my disciple. So what does this mean? Well, some have tried to soften these words a little bit, and they said, well, it doesn't really apply to everyone. It really just applies to maybe those pastors. We've got a few pastors and missionaries on this morning. It really just applies to them. Those folks need to be committed. Or maybe those who are going to, seminary or something like that. But what you have to understand here is Jesus is addressing the crowd. He's addressing everyone on the hillside. He's addressing everyone here. So these words are meant for everyone, and they're also meant for us today. So the question is, does following Jesus, becoming a follower, committed follower of Christ, mean that we have to hate our mother? Well, let's kind of look at this. So first of all, we need to take the verse in context, and we need to, Jesus teaching his disciples, and any good teacher is going to put something out there that's going to be thought provoking, that's going to get people to think about something. So he is stating some truth. It might be hard to understand truth, but maybe the folks are beginning to think, and he sort of and then he's going to clarify this statement with a metaphor that he's going to use, and it's going to kind of bring things into context. So he says, so the statement again is, if anyone comes to me and does not hate his father and mother, his wife and his children, his brothers and sisters, yes, even his own life, he cannot be my disciple. So if we don't hate our family and our own lives, we can't be his disciple. That's what that's what the words say. But let's kind of just break this down a little bit. Does he really mean that we have to have hatred for our family? There's a lot of verses that talk about love, so I'm kind of thinking maybe that's not what he's trying to teach us here this morning. So sort of the next thing that Christ talks about, he relates this statement to a metaphor, and he talks about a man who's building a house without counting the cost, and he finds that he can't follow through with the build. And so he leaves the house unfinished because he can't pay for it. He didn't do the work necessary. The man building the house didn't do the work necessary to figure out what the total cost of the house was going to be. So Jesus is giving us the explanation to his truth statement, even though it's difficult maybe to understand, but he's saying, hey, we need to count the cost if we want to become a disciple of Christ. So the point of this passage is, in order to be a true follower of Christ, we must be willing to give up everything for Christ. And so we'll kind of talk about that, what that may or may not mean for us, because what we want to do, and the object of this morning is this, for us to define our relationship in such a way that we can say, hey, are we just a fair weathered fan of Christ in our walk, or are we actually a committed follower of him? So Jesus is saying, crowds, I need you to count the cost here. You want to be around me, you want to follow me, you want to do these things, but have you really considered what the cost is going to be? So what I want to get across to us this morning is, so if we've made a decision to follow Christ, but our family is not going to follow Christ, our parents, our children, our siblings, whatever the case is, we still must be willing to choose Christ regardless of our earthly love that we have for individuals that are in our life. And despite our love for people, the key is, if they don't love Jesus, it's going to be as if we hate them, because our love for Jesus is so much greater, and our walk with Christ is so much greater, and it's non-conforming to the world, if we will. So people may see us as hating them. How many times have we said, as we talk about others about Christ, do we say, well, your thoughts on the current state of the world, or your thoughts on marriage, or your thoughts on abortion rights, or your thoughts on anything like that, you just hate me because I believe something different, or you're a bigot because I believe something different, or you're intolerant because I think there's another way to Christ. What Jesus is telling us is that we need to count the cost to follow him, and follow him no matter what that cost is. And sometimes it may be that, our parents aren't going to necessarily, agree with our walk. Our friends are not going to necessarily, agree with that walk. So when Christ addresses the crowd, he's certainly wanting them to cost account of discipleship. So as we diagnose our fandom in the last few minutes that we have this morning, what I want to determine for us is Jesus simply one of many things in our life, or is Christ the one and only in our life? So this may kind of come to light a little bit if we talk about a committed relationship that we may have, and marriage comes to mind, and it could go something like this. So maybe you say, hey, I love you, and I want nothing more to spend my life with you. Now the other person in a relationship might say, I love you too, I'm willing to commit to you for the rest of my life, and ready to take this to the next level on one condition: I can still see other people. Well, that's not necessarily a one and only committed relationship. That's having, it'd be like for Melinda and I, I have 32 plus years of marriage, and I'm sure if I would have made that statement back in, September of 1988, I wouldn't have probably got past 1 year of marriage. So it's essential. This is essentially what a fan says to Christ. He says, in a relationship, he said, it's not enough to be first. Jesus has to be the one and only. So if Jesus can be first in your life, he can also be second, depending on what the circumstances are. So Christ has to be our one and only, and following him requires us to follow him with our whole self. And a lot of times what we do, myself included, I've been walking the Lord with quite some time, and I have faltered many times, along the way. But at times in my life, other things have become a priority other than Christ. And what I want us to do this morning is diagnose that fan base, if you will, so we can say, is Christ and my walk with him, convenient when things are going well, or is he my only source of fill in the blank in my walk? So we need to ask ourselves a few questions as we sort of diagnose this fandom, whether or not we're kind of teetering on being a fan of Christ, or a committed follower of him. And just as Christ looked at the crowd and he said, you need to count the cost. You need to love me in such a way that the world thinks that you hate them. So the first question that we need to ask ourselves, and as we evaluate ourselves and whether or not where we stand in our walk with him, is for what do you sacrifice your money? And what I say by this is, God's word says, where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. And what I want to say here is what you spend your time and money on. If we can go back through our checkbooks, if we can go back through our calendars, what we spend our time and our resources on are the things that are the true desires of our heart. So if we spend more time in the world, more time, pursuing, a larger bank account, pursuing the things that money can buy over our relationship with Christ, then we might have a fan issue instead of a follower issue. And now I'm not saying it's not bad to have, a boat and, a play car, or, something like that, as long as it doesn't to become elevated, above your relationship with Christ. A lot of times we're controlled by the things that we have, or we're controlled by our bank account, and therefore we can't do the things that God wants us to do because our heart is our heart and our affection is turned towards those things. So many of us will focus on these things because we think it brings us satisfaction. The thing is Jesus wants to be our satisfaction. So fans will talk about what is the most that I can spend on a house payment, or what is the most that I can spend on a car, or what is the most that I can spend on this vacation or this luxury item, and still give to God. So, but a lot of times that we ask ourselves, well, I heard Brother Jimmy talk about tithing. Is that based on gross or net income? And we start kind of rationalizing, things. So, kind of ask yourself: do your finances, does your money, do the things that you have motivate you more than your relationship with Christ? So, second thing, when you're hurt, where do you go for comfort? All of us experience hurt and pain. If you're always going to someone or something other than Christ, we might have a fan issue. Our first response to any times of need should be Christ. Now, if we go to a family friend, a confidant, family, food, drugs, alcohol, recreation, again, those things aren't bad. We need people in our life that can give us wise counsel. But think back on your times when you needed comfort. Where do you go? And was God a last resort? If God is a last resort in times of comfort, when you need comfort, maybe you have a fan problem and not a follower issue. And if we divide our love between something or someone other than Jesus, that could be a diagnosis that we have a fan issue. Thirdly, what disappoints or frustrates you the most? So here's a question we ask ourselves. We all become overwhelmed with circumstances of life. We all get disappointed. How we react to those disappointments reveal a lot about us. But maybe a loss of a job, certainly in this pandemic time that we're in right now. So I don't want to trivialize, loss of a job. But let me ask you: have you become frustrated or disappointed over, the loss of a ball game? What happens if the Stars lose on Monday? Is the rest of the week going to be ruined? So the question is, what disappoints or frustrates you the most? And if the things that happen in our life causes us, too much discouragement, and we're not allowed to put those things in proper context, it might be an indication that those things have a greater desire for us other than our relationship with Christ. I've said this before. I'll say it. Again, I have this written down in the front of my Bible. It says, discouragement comes when we allow circumstances to control us. When we allow the circumstances of our life to control who we are, what we are, how we act, how we react, how we treat other people, that could be, an indicator of a fan base instead of a follower base. So I'd encourage us to not allow the things that discourage us the most, whether it be the loss of a ball game or the loss of a job or something like that, to overly frustrate us, because it might be an indication that we want those things more than we want our relationship with Christ. I'll have to tell you, in my 35 plus years of working, there was a time when my job defined me. So it is real, right? I thank the Lord that I'm beyond that and over that. What things in your life do you think define who you are other than Christ? And that might give you an indication of a fan base instead of a follower. And then the last thing, because I'm 1 minute over, what is it that really gets you excited? Kind of the same thing that disappoints us, right? What are the things that get us going? What are the things that, do we get really, really excited about sports, really, really excited about music or our work or, our appearance, the things that we have? All these things have a potential to become, a type of mistress in our life if we're not careful, and can take away from our relationship with Christ. And I'm not saying that all these things we shouldn't have. It's great to have a love for music. It's great to be a sports fan. It's okay to take pride in your work. We're working to the Lord, right? It's okay to, want to have, nice things as long as it doesn't control who you are and rob God of our whole heart. So hopefully our friends, our family, our church will see us more excited over the things of eternal value than just temporal value. So these things that we might get excited about, do you get excited about the things of God, or are we really reserved? Hey, I've seen some of you cheer. I had a sports cheer when the Mavericks won their championship. Okay. Do you have tears when people come to know the Lord? So let's ask ourselves those questions. So if following Jesus cost you everything, would it still be worth it to you? So let's bring our two gentlemen back on and talk a little bit about fan or follower base, and see if you have any comments on this.
Joshua, you first.
Well, I had, and it's kind of down the list a little bit. I wanted to ask you this question because I was talking to somebody yesterday. There are people out there, and probably even more than in the pandemic, who are just struggling to make ends meet. Maybe they're working 2 jobs, and they don't really have the luxury of a lot of choice when it comes to how they spend their time or their money. Most of their money goes to their bills and food and stuff, and most of their time goes to working or take care of the kids. I was talking to a woman who's got 2 jobs and a kid, and she was looking for another job because she's just trying to pay for daycare and all this other stuff. So, and I know, I don't know all of your financial backgrounds, but I know at least some of us didn't come from any kind of money, really. I think we all didn't. So we've all probably been there. So when you're in that situation, it's really easy to get distracted in the kind of minutia of day to day, just like the struggle as it is to, survive. That might sound drastic, but basically you're struggling to survive. So what tips would you have for somebody like that who is, trying to work in 2-3 jobs, trying to make ends meet, and doesn't have like a bunch of free time or extra cash that they get to choose how they use it?
Yeah. It's as you guys know, the first thing I would say is, it always comes down to the attitude of the heart, right? Hopefully be thankful for the 2 jobs that are needed, and to actually do that. It's difficult when you can't seem to get ahead, and those are when we allow those circumstances to discourage us. But I would say flip it around and be thankful and keep. It's easy to say keep moving forward, right? But and when we talk about tithing and giving to the church and stuff like that, people that are struggling and can't do that, be faithful in praying for the church.
Right.
Because the thing is God doesn't need our money. God doesn't need the check that's going to go in the plate or come through Tidely this morning. Now we all know that money is needed to operate things, but God doesn't need it. And it's the attitude, the willingness, the obedience to what is the widow with the mites, the 2 mites, right?
Right.
Even if it's a nickel, what can God do with that nickel? I would say that God can do miraculous things with the gift of a nickel from someone who's given it from a true place of wow, I don't really have this, but I'm going to have faith. Even that nickel, than someone else that writes $1,000 check and doesn't think anything of it.
Giving out of need versus giving out of
love or out of yeah. So what I would say is go back to discouragement comes when we allow circumstances to control us. Some people are they have to work multiple jobs. We live in a society, unfortunately, that we've the world's done this to ourselves, right? Where it's two family incomes or whatever the case is. But what I will say is it is a blessing to live in America for sure.
Oh,
and
sure.
Those are just tough, difficult times. But I think it's more the attitude of the heart than really the physical gift. And if you're going to hold on to that last nickel, it's like someone else holding on to their last million because they don't want to give it, right?
Yeah, I agree. It truly is the attitude of the heart, because giving what's interesting when you start talking about giving in the church context is everyone always goes so myopic, they go straight to the offering plate. It always goes to the dollar. But giving inside the capital C context, capital C church context, is the giving of the time, talents, and treasures as God avails you to the need. There are certain structures. Yes, we should give in the church of our time and our talents and our treasures. But we also give to the Lord in the way that we carry ourselves, something as simple as an attitude of gratitude instead of being Eeyore at every turn. But it also may be buying that Happy Meal for that individual, or buying that cup of coffee for the car behind you. Giving to the Lord is an attitude. I mentioned this in a teaching recently. I don't remember which one. But so often we think of giving as a triangular thing. We give to the Lord and the Lord gives to someone else. But we are giving to others through the Lord. It's like everything we do is unto the Lord. We do it through him, not in a triangle. It's a pass through. And whatever we do, if we do it as unto the Lord, then he is glorified and we are benefited. And that can, like I said, Jeff, and you're right. It doesn't matter the sum of money. It's the attitude toward it, the faith for it, and sometimes the faith to be sacrificial and trust. But it also, it's also your time. Can I say this? Your time is more valuable than your money, because you'll make another dollar. Okay. Can I get a little controversial?
Come on, that's what this is.
When you rob God of your time, you're double robbing him more than when you don't give any money to him.
Yep.
Because God is in the relationship business, and relationships aren't built on nickels, dimes, and dollars. It's built on TIME.
Yep. And, the thing is, we talk about, we're trying to define, this, whether we're, a fan or a follower, and, Christ says, count the cost to follow me.
Right.
If you're going to follow me, follow me. If you're not, don't do it halfway. So even in the situation, that someone's saying, hey, I work a couple jobs, so all my time is at work and all my money goes to pay bills. It's when they're at that job, they can be glorifying the Lord.
Right.
When they're paying those bills, they can be glorifying. Because I would say that, an individual in that particular situation, praising the Lord through their circumstances and through their where they're at, may go a longer way than someone that really doesn't have to worry about paying the next bill.
Sure. And
now, I'm not saying that rich people can't give glory to God too. I'm not saying that, but but how awesome would just be that testimony for that individual in that situation.
Sure.
So anyway,
and it's that same way with time. In-person worship, when it's possible, there's a higher value. There's just something about being together, and it's a difficult thing for me, for a man. I realize I'm older, but it's a difficult thing for me, for 99.9% of individuals to tell me they cannot give the Lord an hour a week. I mean, there are those, but and even today, and I'm not necessarily saying exclusively in person, worship, but if you cannot give the Lord an hour, whether it's connecting with us digitally or coming to campus and being with us in person, my friend, you're just out of balance. You're out of bounds, and I can't tell you. Stewardship begins with your time. Everything else is going to follow your heart, and your time's going to follow your heart.
So, Josh, I'll ask you a question.
Go ahead.
So, it goes back to the question I asked before. So, does following Jesus mean that you hate your mother?
In light of your love of the Lord, yeah.
It could be seen as that, right? Yeah.
Well, and I think, the answer to a lot of these things is, you mentioned it where you said a lot of us ask when we count the cost. Essentially, what we're asking is, what is the bare minimum that I have to do? What is the minimum threshold where I still get to go to heaven or hear, well done, my faithful servant? And to shift in perspective, like Jimmy, you said, people can't give the Lord an hour a week. Well, it should be, and this is something that one of the things that you asked, Jeff, that's kind of wrestling in my mind is, how do you make Jesus the only thing in your life when you have a wife and you've got kids and you've got a job and you've got a mortgage, you've got bills, you've got sports teams that you're a fan of, you've got these other pursuits and these interests, all this stuff. How can Jesus be the only thing? And in my mind, what I'm thinking is, instead of asking yourself, can I give an hour for God? We should be asking ourselves, do I have an hour to give to watch that game? Because all my time, whether I'm at work, I'm in a relationship with my family, like you said, it doesn't all have to be on your knees, although we should all spend more time praying. But, my time at work, my time with my kids, my time at church, my time, whatever, that's all God's time. Every hour of my life is God's time. So instead of going, can I give God an hour? It should be, do I have an hour? Is that the best use of my time to watch that, to sit there and watch 3 hours of basketball game? Do I have an hour for anything but God? And that, to me, that's a huge perspective shift.
Yeah, but what I would say there, and I'm just a simple guy, right? And it goes back to the thing of, while you're watching that game, are you conducting yourself in such a way that would bring honor to God?
Right.
So it's okay to have pursuits, hobbies, and I mean, I like to watch sports, and I like to, go out in the pool or whatever, right? There's things that I like to do that doesn't necessarily have this on my hip, right?
Sure.
But what I would say is, the things and the pursuits and all this stuff that we have going on in our lives, is it God honoring? The things that are not God honoring, we need to weed those things out, and we all have it. That, whoever's listening and seeing this morning or later on, don't kid yourself. We all have it. And what I'll say is, if your time with your friends out on Saturday night is not God honoring, you probably should do something different.
Right.
Or if my time on Sunday afternoon watching a Rangers game is not God honoring because I'm yelling at the TV when they strike out, what impact am I having on my wife or anyone else that might be there? So what I'm saying is, we do these things, do it all under God, because all the time is God's, but do those things have a higher value in our life than our pursuit of Him?
So what would that look like if sports is, let's say sports, because we're all sports fans, if sports is a mistress, what does that look like practically?
I think that if I am at my highest point in my life when the Rangers win a ball game,
right,
that's a mistress. If they lose that ball game and my relationship with you for the next week is hindered, that's a mistress. It's what context it has on our life. Yeah, and it's am I going to not? So okay, Evelyn, my granddaughter, comes in every once in a while and she just says "Pops" and she holds her hand up, and that means that I need to go with her. Well, if I was to say, no, I'm not going to do that because I need to watch this at bat. Okay, what context is she now in that situation? So what are we doing to Christ? Are we saying, not now, Jesus, I need to do this?
Right.
But we all have our other pursuits. Just make sure that Christ is our one and only, and not one of many that brings joy or fulfillment in our life. If Christ brings fulfillment and your boat brings you fulfillment, they're not equal. Is what just make sure it's in proper perspective.
And since I was that jerk, I'll continue to be that jerk. If you can afford to pay $200 a month so you don't miss any sporting events, but you don't have $1 to give to charity or to the Lord's work, might be a mistress.
Yeah. Good point.
Might be.
Might be. And again, hey, I love sports, and let me also admit to you guys, I am gratefully wrong. I did not believe we would see football of any sort. I just want to know, where did the COVID go? I mean, now I see high school and college, and where did it go? I don't know.
It just affects the lesser sports.
That's it, I guess. I don't know, but I am very thankful to be wrong. And listen, if you want to know the difference between a fan and a follower, I was a follower Friday afternoon of the Dallas Stars because I was livid. I had full expectation of them just choking it away yet again.
He didn't.
I was not a believer. I was a follower. So,
all right, gents, if I'm going to make it to the service, I got to get.
All right, we'll see you guys in a few minutes. Jeff, thanks. It was awesome, bud.
All right, take care, Jim. I'll come.